Okay, so we'll get started today. So thank you so much for joining us again for our second webinar with the Optical Accelerator. You have myself today, your host, Dr. Fallon Patel, and we're here in partnership with Nick Sampson here, who is a co-CEO of and co-owner of the Optical Prism magazine. So we're so delighted to be here, and we can't wait to share our next set of presentations with you. But before we begin, let's show you our slides. Okay. For today's topic, you're going to learn a whole lot more about what we talked about last week. So last week we went over a lot more more mindset, more theory as to how to generate more income and profit to your business. So these first two webinars were designed to speak more so about the cash flow quadrant of your business. So we want to be able to give you some low-hanging fruit tools that you can implement today and start generating more revenue to your optical business. And once that starts to fireball, you know what they say, cash flow can really solve a whole lot of problems. So let's begin. So for this week, we have some house rules. Please, only constructive and positive comments are always welcomed. Respectful and supportive engagement keeps this valuable for everybody. So let's stay focused on learning and growing together. So what we'll do here is I'll open it up to the chat right now. So you guys all have access to the chat. Please, from last week, if you have any questions, or sorry, from last month, if you have any questions about anything I kind of went over, the bundles, staff training, metrics, any tools or EMRs, feel free to ask them in the chat group, in the chat. Was everybody able to get at least a new bundle off the ground? So I talked about some different diagnostics last month. I talked about ways that we do it in our clinic, which was via our diagnostics. So we bundle our OCT, retinal imaging, mammographs for just a one extra diagnostic health and wellness package that we offer. We talked a lot about the lens clarity packages from good, better, best. We talked about warranties and subscriptions, which is really, really scalable. So if you're not doing that, you really have to start thinking differently in our business to be able to offer these solutions to people, because this is the way in which most businesses really start to take off, is in those subscriptions. So anybody have any questions about that? Like, you know, you may be wondering, how do I do a subscription? Is anybody going to go for it? Like, you know, what do you mean? I'm going to post in the chat group. Hi, can you hear me? There we go. If you don't have any questions, we'll move on and we'll come back maybe midway through the presentation. And I know Nick will have a bunch. And so we're going to have him share, because he's also a serial entrepreneur, and he's built and sold multiple businesses in the past. And so right now he's co-CEO of the Optical Prism. So he knows kind of the groundwork of how a business operates. And to be honest, they all are kind of the same. So I was not able to hear last month. Do you think I could see the last presentation? Yes. You know what? We'll send that out to you after a recording of the first presentation. So feel free to go through that. And then there's a worksheet with that as well. It was kind of very, very entry level. This week's webinar, we're going to go more, it's kind of very, very technical, and it might be a lot. So we'll see how you guys handle it. If anything, we'll maybe revisit this webinar from today again next month. But there's just a lot of information and a lot of kind of detailed technical things that you can actually take home with you. All right, so just give me a moment. I just kind of logged out there. Okay, so I'm going to get back to the slides. So let's start. Oh, Fallon, can I do a sound check? Sure. Go ahead. I don't think I can hear you, though. Are you able to come on? How do I get you on here, Nick? Let's see. All right. no problem. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna let Sam help you with that, Nick. So maybe you guys can jump on and then come back in, and we'll do more of a Q&A back and forth. Is that the first seminar available to view? Also, will this be available? Yes. So this one will also be available as well. So I'll have it recorded and we'll send it out to you again. If you miss any of the topics, you can watch it. And we encourage not only you to watch it, but to bring your office manager and your team to also watch it. Because I find, like, when I'm learning something new, and if I don't have my manager with me and then I bring all this stuff back to her, it's going to be like a hard no. But if I bring her in on the process and she's understanding why we're doing a lot of these things and is kind of in the education process, I get more of the buy-in and the why and the yes and the belief as to why. So yes, these recordings will be available. Please feel free to bring your team members on, even on to the next webinar, and we'll have them pre-recorded, all of them, for you to watch again. Amazing. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's begin this presentation. We'll come back at the end if you have any questions. Okay. So this topic is going to be something you're probably going to love to hear, but it's all about working less and earning more. And, you know, there was actually a time where when I first started out, I was working 7 days a week for about the first year, 6 days a week. The second year, and we'll come back, Nick, I'll just finish sharing the story. My second year, and I really thought working in the business, like, it was incremental. If I just put in an extra day, you'd think I'd make more money, but it was not working because I was working 6 or 7 days in my business for years. And I just was not seeing the level of profit that I had wanted to. And, you know, we have a tendency to do that, I believe, as clinicians. We come out of school, opticianry school and optometry school. And the way that we're hardwired is we put so much time studying. Like, I'd be the first one in the library, last one out. I'd put the time in, because the more you can memorize things and read a textbook, the more time you spent doing that, you'd get a better mark, right? So I think a lot of us are hardwired to think, a tendency to think, working in the business is going to get you that better results in the real world in business. But have you ever wondered, like, have you ever looked around and noticed, like, there are colleagues out there amongst us that have multiple locations, that have 3, 5, 10, 15, 20, and they seem to be free. They seem to be at all the events. They're calm, they're collected, you know, they're not really that overwhelmed. And for us to think, how are we going to get through one and get to the second? It can be very overwhelming, right? And so what people know me for today is that I've actually built 5 thriving practices. I have about 18 or 19 associate doctors on our team and over 50 staff members. And now I'm a mentor. I speak nationally. So this is where people see me at today. But people don't know, and they never really saw the other side where I struggled. I was working 6 or 7 days in the business. I thought putting in more hours and time myself physically was going to get me that result. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom, and I shared the story on the last webinar, it was COVID. I had one location when COVID hit. And during that one location, operations and cash flow stopped. Mind you, I still had payroll to pay. And I had to ask my husband, I didn't have money in the bank. It just was, you know, zero. And I had minus payroll from the month before to pay. And so I asked my husband for a float. And that's when I realized, I said, no, Fallon, I got to get my act together and really figure out this business part of the eye care. Because if I don't figure it out, this is going to be an even hot mess down the road. And so I invested in personal development books. Kid you not, after I read that first personal development book, it must have been like an aura shift or something, but opportunities came, like 2 practices came all together. After that, a couple more years, a couple more came. And I invested in mentorship. I got the expert help that I needed. And step by step, I got myself out. Now I'm extremely profitable. I remember there was a time when I just had the bare bones of a retinal camera from China that I got. in all of our locations. And now, fast forward to today, I finally was able to generate really good profit. And now we kind of have all the bells and whistles in our practice. Like I'm able to have the OCT and the micrographs and the axial lengths and whatever it is I'm going to be able to have. And I want you to know there's nothing different from you and I. We're all the same. We all went to similar schooling and backgrounds. And if I can do it, I know you guys can do it too. So this is what the Optical Accelerator series is all about. And this is what we're going to dive into today. Nick, can I hear you? Yeah. Oh no, your mic's not on. Okay. So if you have any questions, maybe we'll go back before we begin. Do you have any questions that you can think of? You always have some great insights for business. If you want to maybe type it in the chat group. No, he has no mic. Okay. Okay. We'll come back. All right. So let's start with the program. If he comes back, I'll get him to shoot some questions at the end of our presentation. So how to build your 7-figure optical business without burning out. Kid you not, I have several 7-figure practices, and I can do it. I know you guys can do it too. You don't need to hustle harder to hit 7 figures. You just need a better plan. Okay. So the shift from busyness to strategy, we got to clear this mindset. Being busy does not mean you're being profitable. So remember when I said I was working 6 or 7 days in my practice, I thought I was doing the right thing. I was so crazy busy, but I wasn't profitable. It's because I wasn't leveraged. I didn't work on my business. I was working in my business. So key takeaways we all need to have. And when you make that shift, you will never have enough. Like it's always an expense, but you have to kind of build it and they will come mindset. You have to invest. You will never have that money, at abundance before you make those decisions. So you really have to start with that mindset shift and trust and hire for growth and know that it's going to come. And so many owners hit a frustrating plateau once effort no longer equals a profit, right? You think you're working 5 days. Great. I'm going to add on an extra 2 more days. Wonderful. Now, after that, you can't add on any more days, right? Like how are you going to get out of this hot mess? So it's not about working harder. It's about having better systems, better clarity, and really team alignment. You can't do this alone. So step 1, you need to put numbers behind your vision. So you need to set clear, measurable goals your entire team can rally around. So I'm going to give you a bunch of examples this time of success metrics. And you really need to align your team around clear goals. Last month, we talked about KPIs and why they matter. Why they matter to a human. People are coming into their job. They don't really want to be checked in and checked out and do their basic minimum. They want to have something they're working towards. Everybody wants to grow. And so we all need to set some sort of goals for us to evolve, right? That's the whole purpose of business, leadership, work environment. And so these are some specific KPIs, we can call them, or goals that you can set in your iCare. So you can take a screenshot of this, or it might be in your workbook as well. But you can set goals around things like your profit margins. If you can measure that through your EHR, you can set a profit margin of 20 to 25%, which is pretty standard in our industry. It can go higher, a little bit higher in different modes of practice. Exam growth or customer count can be 10 to 15% year over year, right? Why can't it be? Optical conversions. A lot of opticals have very high conversion rates, especially if you're practicing independently, 70 to 80%. You want to have those benchmarks. This matters. We all know it matters because we know that if we have a doctor in our lane, if you're able to measure that conversion, that can be one way to measure this, or it can be the number of customers or people coming in through the door with a prescription. Are you able to convert this customer? And we need to track it, because if we're not tracking, again, you're just wishing and you're just basing it on hope. And you really cannot operate a business this way. It's just so wishy-washy and you will never get anywhere. You'll just go in circles. And if you're thinking this is me right now, don't worry. I've been there too. Like I was once there. This was how I operated for the longest time. So I'm happy to share my failures, but also know that you can get out of this, but it takes steps. And so these are the steps. So set clear goals and numbers, Google reviews you may want to set, or you can even set specialty programs. So in our practice, we measure a lot of specialty services, things like myopia management treatments, dry eye services, and so forth. So numbers clarify vision and make progress visible. Figure out what those numbers mean in your practice. If you're not too sure, you can backdate and count what you've done in your previous year and add a plus 10% or add a plus 5%. Think of a number that you feel comfortable with. So how are you going to apply to make those numbers visible? So what gets measured gets multiplied. So you have to make it visible. So you want to post your metrics so that your team can see it. Maybe you're going to post it weekly on a whiteboard in your office. Maybe you can have a digital dashboard. Like we have PDFs that go out to everybody weekly, or you can present them during your team huddles. It can be on a piece of paper. Remember, you got to make it visible. Everybody needs to know what the goal is. You need to discuss it together. It's so important to celebrate the wins. You want to make sure you celebrate. I know my team, if I don't state it and I miss a day, if I'm a day late on presenting the numbers, they're all waiting. They're like, we didn't get it. Like, did we hit it this week? And they want to be acknowledged. So they really, really do. And you just have to be very consistent with that. So never miss a heartbeat on showing up for your team, right? So they're showing up for you. You got to make sure you set it on the schedule and you show up for them. And this is a great opportunity to problem solve your dips early. So let's say you had a problem with exam rebookings. You can get into those numbers ahead of time and know that you're not going to make that number for the week. So what can we do? How can we pivot to really be successful on these numbers? So again, tracking consistently is really, really key. You can track things like those capture rates, contact lens renewals, warranty ads, myopia enrollments, dry eye starts, Google review counts, right? And we want to celebrate. Next, we want to think beyond the transaction. So you want to stop selling, but start building loyalty. So what this means, the philosophy is that one-time sales keep the lights on. Long-term loyalty builds empires, right? You think about those big brands. Long-term loyalty builds empires. What can you do to do that? So you got to shift from that one transaction offer to really building. And how can you do that? One of those things to building your practice is creating bundled offers, creating multiple solutions, selling to the whole human, and uncovering their needs, right? Having different packages, good, better, best. You can introduce eyewear protection plans. Make sure that you have warranties or guarantees. Honor your work. We don't charge for rechecks and so forth. We're not in it to nickel and dime our patients. We want to be there for them. If there's a problem, let's help them. These are the little things that you can do to build that trust and reputation with the people in your community. Or you can add also maybe invite them back in on an annual refresh. Each time they're due for their annual eyeglass or eye exam, what's a new offer you can add, send them to entice them to come back into you. So these are the little things that can really build the long-term loyalty. And this is another one, launching programs that reward commitments, not just purchases. So what I mean by this, a rewards program. So we thought about implementing this year in our practice. I just didn't have the capacity and bandwidth with everything else that we're doing. So this is going to move into 2026, but a rewards program for your customers and your patients, a point system. You want to really value your high VIP patients, like your contact lens patients, the patients that are spending thousands on myopia management services with you. These are the patients that you really want to just go above and beyond for and enroll them in a point system, a reward system. If you think about it, a lot of the big box retailers, everybody has one, right? Like I'm sure Target has one. In Canada, we have Shoppers Optimum points. Loblaws is another one that has points as well. So these are really, really important because this is how people they like it. It's like a gratification. when they come in and do repeat business with you? Tim Hortons, Tim Points, right? Why do you think that they implemented that? And then they give their really, if you get X amount of points, you get a free cup of coffee. I love that. And so you may want to think about how you can implement that in your practice. Whenever you're stuck with ideas as well, I will also recommend that you pull out AI. You can pull out Perplexity is a really good one to ask questions and research, and ChatGPT. These two, pull them out, get comfortable. If you're not too sure, you can screenshot this, for example, give it some background about your business, talk. I use the talk feature in chat. I just open the mic, I explain it. The more you talk, the better the answer you'll get. And it will just spit out an actual ideation and plan for you. And it just continues. Then it goes, the next question will be like, do you want me to help you implement this in your practice, an SOP? Yes. The next one will be like, great. Do you want me to create benchmarks and stuff for KPIs for your team? Yes. So it's really easy stuff. We just got to get in the habit of using these tools that we have accessible to us. It can really help you move the needle forward. So when you serve for the long term, your profits are going to multiply. So how to apply that? So we talked about this already. Build programs, not just purchases. So we talked about the bundles prior. Those are the clarity packages where you can bundle AR, blue light, hydrophobic coatings, whatever you have. Then you can have kind of good, better, best packages, right? You can create annual offers, IRA refreshes. So a frame upgrade event, every so often for your customers, every 12 months, prescription renewal plans, there's contact lens subscriptions. Your contact lens subscription is expiring. Let's renew it. A great way to get your customer back into the door to see you again. So you want to build those retention tools as well. So recall systems, email nurture flows we talked about last month, VIP programs we just dabbed into a little bit today, and then myopia and dry eye memberships with quarterly check-ins. Okay, yeah, I'll answer that question, Monica. It's a really good one. And then reward loyalty, offer discounts or gifts for patients who stay consistent, track renewal, multi-payer, and subscription growth. So loyalty programs are a good way to also build loyalty. So Dr. Miller here has a really great question. How do you hold your associates, doctors, we can use this for doctors or even your team associates, opticians, accountable if they're consistently missing goals or not doing specialty services? That's a really good one. So how do you keep somebody accountable is a really good question. I find, it's very rare that you're going to find someone intrinsically on the goal, on the mark, as motivated as you are in your practice. That's you. But to bring other people along on your vision, I think it's a little bit of a bigger question than just metrics and conversation. So first, definitely have your, and we'll talk about vision later on in this topic today, but you need to make sure everybody's bought in on your why and why we're going this way. And I can share, it's been years since I've been talking about myopia management, and only today am I confidently telling you every single one of my associate doctors is confident in prescribing myopia management solutions, but that took a very, very long time. It took a belief, like we got to get over their beliefs. So everybody has to have the buy-in as to why that particular specialty service is important. So we got to get them in on the training, send them to webinars and courses so that they understand why. Then you got to just handhold them through one or two of them so that they see that this is a really good service or product. So in myopia management, for example, for us, it was, let's throw my sight on this patient. Let me help you. I will talk to them. I will sell it. Just task me. I'll get your patient on board for this. And then you follow up in 6 months and you tell me. And it, after that 6-month visit, when the prescription doesn't change, something will magically turn in them and they will start to believe. And once they believe, they will start to adopt your services. Now, I would wait till it gets to that point where you start to get everybody at least recommending something. So if they're not recommending anything, I think you have to start with belief in getting them into buying into your vision. So you got to do a lot of weekly calls to get the entire team brought into where you're taking your business in the next 3 years, why this matters, why we're focusing on myopia management, why we're focusing on Crizal or top tier Nikon glasses, why we want to be known for this. You got to take your team and around your why. Now, once everybody's gotten one or two things off the belt, they feel comfortable, right? You got to set goals and you got to keep hold them accountable and send them little DMs. Hey, like, how's it going? Like, anything I can help you with? Then if there's somebody really not pulling their weight, there might be like one or two. You can start having conversations about, compensation, structure, and you can get to that point too. But I find like once you get to that point, it's kind of like a negative spiral. So always try your best to just keep, or else you're going to know maybe this person is just not the right fit for your practice. It kind of comes down to those conversations. But yeah, I hear you. It's a tough one. I hope I answered that. If not, please ask a follow-up question. Okay, step 3, make each month matter. So growth is in a series of smart small wins. So you want to break your annual goal into monthly micrometrics. I'm sure you guys already know this. Track capture rates, lens upgrades, recalls, your warranties, and celebrate your progress weekly. So if we're talking 7 figures here, guys, I want you to think, what service in your practice is the easy hanging fruit, that is the most profitable, that you think you want to focus on, that can get you to 7 figures, right? In 12 months from now. You got to do the math. You got to crunch your numbers. What's that delta? If you're already at 7, let's aim higher. I mean, the problem here is that when we're setting our vision, here's the thing. When we're setting it for a year, it's often we overestimate what we can do. But when we're setting our 3-year vision, 5-year, 10-year, we underestimate what we can do. So we don't dream big enough. And this is what I've learned through coaching, having a mentor. Like, I set a goal of what I think I can achieve in 3 years. And she'll tell me, nope, you got to 10x it. That's too small. You got to go bigger. And you really do. And when you do, you probably will hit it. And so when I say we're talking about 7-figure optical, let's start there, at least for the year. And we'll talk about vision exercises in subsequent months and how you can do that. But for now, the 7-figure optical, think about that delta that you need. If you're not hitting it, if not, set a bigger goal. Whatever your delta is to your next milestone, and break it down into different service items, how you're going to get there, how many people it's going to take, and then break it down quarterly. So your goalposts will be quarterly, just to make sure you're headed in the right direction, and then monthly, and then weekly and daily if you want to get really granular to help you meet those goals. And of course, celebrate the progresses as well, weekly or daily. Awesome. All right. And so make each month matter. So 7 figures isn't about one big win. It's 12 smart ones. So growth happens month by month, not in one leap. When you think about it, it's very overwhelming and can really, psych you out. But if you just break it down into small actionable steps, it really just is a matter of, when you're talking daily, actually you can probably break that number down into weekly. You're probably talking an extra like 5. It's not that hard. And you got to set those goals to your team and yourself. So growth happens month over month, not in one big leap. Break your annual goals down into milestone. For example, 10% this month, optical capture rate 75 to 80%, and so forth. So small wins done consistently move the big numbers. So it's one thing to be extremely motivated and excited to do something, but it's another thing to be consistent and to consistently just chip away at something month over month. When I'm thinking about my team and who I would bet on to be successful, I have one employee who's so consistent. She doesn't get overly, when we set a new project, she's not one of those early adopters that just runs with it and is just a high achiever. Because sometimes we see them kind of fall after a few months when the motivation drops, you stop recognizing them. The motivation sometimes drops over time, versus she's a little bit kind of in the middle and just consistently just chips at it and is so good. These are the people that I would bet on. And these are the concepts you want to have in your practice as well. It's consistency will always win the race in the long run. Step 4 is going to be systemize the magic. So scale lives inside systems. And what do we mean by this? So to do this, you really want to document everything, your handoff, your scripts, your workflows, your checklists. You want to train your team on the why you're doing this, behind the process. And then consistency, as I talked about, creates a confidence and growth. So how do you do that? So when we're talking about systems, it's to build a repeatable playbook. So if you think about things like your onboarding, or you think about your SOPs, why we have them, or sales scripts, you really want to document, train, so you can automate it and repeat it. And you want to document everything. There are a lot of tools out there now that you have access to. This part seems so overwhelming to me because I hate doing it, systemizing, but it's the easiest one you can really do, because you can just walk around with a mic and record yourself in a day, record your SOPs. There are plenty of software and applications out there like a Trainual or Scribe AI, or, there's a lot of tools out there that will actually do it for you at a very nominal cost. So, and think AI. So we use AI for all of our SOPs, checklists, digital workflows. It will do it for you in probably half a day or a day. You can get your entire business systemized. So examples of things that you may want to do: have your 5-minute optical handoff script there, so it's ready, it's consistent, people know what to use. So now that is a repeatable process that you can scale. The myopia follow-up script, the script's ready for your doctors in those handoffs. That's ready, that's there, that's proven to be successful for them to use. And then you want to train for mastery. So you want to role play monthly to build confidence. So that's another one. If doctors or your associates are just not really good at talking about warranties, for example, or myopia, your manager's gotta get in there and be like, let's role play. Here, pretend I'm a patient. What are you going to say to me? And you need to spot correct and spot train to really get them to adopt these changes in the verbiage and how they are explaining things to patients. Create an onboarding handbook and videos. Automate reminders, so your recalls, renewals, patient reviews, your KPI dashboards, and you want to refine monthly. So this is like very operational, what we're talking about right now. And whenever we're talking about operations, you always want to refine and move the needle, refine and optimize. Like this is once you have something at play, you should always be thinking like this. And so you can always ask, where did we drop the ball this month? Let's update the process. Not just, the person, but also how can we do things better to avoid any hiccups, or, what worked well, or maybe we need to change this so it works better the next time. And step 5 is your purpose-driven profit. So design for impact, but not exhaustion, right? Everything I said today, I feel like it can be very exhausting, and it will be if you don't have purpose in what you're doing. If true growth isn't about more hours, it's about meaning. Like when you hear people say, it's not my job, I love it. I can spend, 80 hours doing this every week and not feel exhausted. That happens when you're doing something that has meaning and purpose to your work. So you really need to align your systems and your protocols with your purpose and your team's energy. So when your vision, people, and profit align, your business thrives, right? So they really need to be brought in on that. And sorry, let's go back into this here. And so we'll talk a little bit more about, your purpose and your why. But if you're struggling to think about, how do I do this? Maybe go back and think about, why you got into the eye care field. What was it? Like, I remember being in school thinking like, wow, I'm making such a great impact. I'm going to save people's vision. I'm going to help them see better. And I'm just going to have my commitment in my community to make an impact. And you got to bring people in on that vision. You can't lose focus inside of that, because the reality is, we can't just help people and, not be able to make payroll and not worry about rent and raises and the cost of inflation and everything. At the end of the day, we all go into small businesses. And so we have to think about these numbers and these strategies to grow, but we can't lose sight of why, right? Like of what got us there in the first place. Business is just part of the game. Make it fun. If you're competitive, it gets super fun. Again, just never forget about the why. So let's recap the 5 steps. Put numbers behind your vision always. Think beyond the transaction. Think about how these can be your lifelong customers, right? We know it's infinitely cheaper to retain somebody than it is to get a new patient in. And so if that's the case, what can we do above and beyond so they're not enticed to go somewhere else next time for their annual eye exam? What can we do to reach out to them? What can we do to offer them and nurture them back in to see us again? How can we make each month matter? Set some bold goals up on the wall, get everybody aligned. I remember when we first started doing this, it was a little hard for us to do. But as soon as we got the hang of it, the team started to, really, really look at those numbers. So it's just a matter of getting your team aligned. Another thing is what's in it for the staff too. You have to think about it too. Because I know when I bring a whole bunch, like when I go to seminars and meetings, have all these things I want to bring back. And I know my team's going to be like, oh my God, another thing I have to do. But think of a way to make it a win-win situation. So can there be compensation, extra compensation, that can be added if they're going to help you get this new program off the ground? Think about the margins. Can you tie that into your margins where you can reward your staff? So bring them in on the wins. You'll get a lot more buy-in as well. And of course, you want to systemize the magic. You want to make sure whatever you do, have something around you that you can record. There's a lot of tools out there. Plot is one that I've been using where it's just like a recorder. It records you. And then after it can summarize like your entire day in any which way you want to summarize it and format with AI. So really, really cool stuff. It'll save you time and headache from repeating yourself. And then, of course, you want to build purpose-driven profit. So never forget about the why. And we'll probably do a vision session about this later in subsequent months. And so this is just a reflection point. So today and last month, we went over really the profitability part of this reflection point, our cash flow. But when it comes to running a business, there are categories, like, there's different parts of the business wheel that we may need to focus on. And so of these, 4 areas below, which one feels like your current bottleneck? Is it the vision? Like, do you feel you need a stronger enough vision? How about your team? Do you feel that your team is aligned? Do you have the right people? Are they in the right seats? On right seats on the bus? Or are there people that maybe are dragging your energy down that you just need to make that hard decision to part with? They have a saying in business, what got you here will not take you there, right? So what got you here will not take you there, will not get you there. If all of a sudden now you're going to go back to your team and you have all this energy, you're like, that's it, this is where we're going to take our business, and you're going to bring all this new energy, don't be surprised if those people that you feel were kind of like humming along might just part ways with you. And that might be a good thing. So think about your team. Think about the systems. Do you have things recorded? Do you have somebody that can do it for you? You shouldn't be doing it, but someone in operations should be doing that for you. Very easy thing to do, especially with AI these days. And profitability. Do you feel that you're earning enough money for yourself, for you to take vacation, time off, for you to reinvest into your business? How do you feel you rank there? So these are 4 areas that you should think about. Am I good, kind of okay, excellent? And what are some of the areas that maybe I need to focus on to strengthen? So we have a question here from Nick. You touched on the KPIs. What are KPIs eye care professionals should measure consistently? I think the number one thing is like market share, which is like customer count. So people, you can be growing revenue some years and be down customer count, which is kind of scary, right? Because you always want to be growing market share, which means people. So I think customers, you should always be growing customers or patients year over year. That's a gimme. So there's a total count. You also want to measure retention. So existing people that are returning to you versus new. It can tell you a whole lot about, are you going to be growing or are you losing? Are you not retaining people? Another KPI is like NPS I talk about. I didn't talk about it during these sessions, but that's your net promoter score, which is a quality score. It's just one question, 1 out of 10. How likely is someone going to recommend you to somebody else for your practice? It's really, really important because it ties into a lot of things, but then you got to figure out if it's not a good score and it consistently happens on certain days, certain practitioner days, certain associate days, it can give you a trend where you kind of go back and troubleshoot, what part are you having a problem with? Sales for sure. You want to look at the sales revenue. At the end of the day, you need to be growing sales year over year. And so those are the basic metrics that everybody should consistently measure. So I believe somebody coined these. What did they coin these? KPIs is what they coined them. And then there's OKRs. So OKRs are kind of the things that you want to focus on that can really move the needle in your business this year. So think of 3 things you may want to add, like new innovative pipelines to your practice. It could be some amazing transition lens, some amazing product line. It could be, myopia management. It could be adding on drops or something to your contact lens patient base. Like think of something that you see valuable that is going to generate a lot of profit and growth to your business, and then pick 3. So that's what we do. So we pick kind of 3 main things we want to focus on that's really going to move the needle for us in terms of profit. And those are our OKRs or custom KPIs that we track weekly. Any other questions so far? I have a couple more slides left. And I know KPI sounds boring. Like I mentioned this on the last webinar that I work for a big corp, and in the beginning, I just thought KPIs, oh my God. So like a lot of these leaders and execs, they live and they bury their heads in these spreadsheets. That's how they see the business. But they grow year over year consistently, not crazy numbers, right? But they're consistent. And this is how they grow. It's it's like methods and systems that they use that's going to be reliable. And so that's what we really need to do if, we're merging now clinician and healthcare to business. Like it takes a bit of a mindset shift, but once you start tracking and growing, your whole team gets aligned on it. And that's really, it's the best feeling ever when, you're not worried about giving people raises anymore. You're not worried about hiring for growth anymore. You're not worried about, testing and spending money on tests. You get less attached to that once you're able to start generating more profit and revenue to your practice. Okay, so this is my plugin for a software that I created. So it's called Pulse IQ Dashboard or Pulse IQ Solutions. This is our dashboard. And so a problem that I had in my industry or in my business is that we were tracking things weekly. And I felt that we had goals for the day, like exam goals, but nothing else really, and nothing to really be visible to hold people accountable, the goals, like Monica asked there. So we created a dashboard where we track those baseline KPIs, and then we have our custom KPIs that we really track, and we can set goals. So I had to create this because nothing existed in the marketplace, because I just felt that if you have an employee coming into work, they should really have something to be working towards that day, right? You got to ignite that fire, that vision into that person. And it's our job to do that. And so this is why I created Pulse IQ Solutions. It can track all that for you. It has a goal setting section in here. It has AI built in, so it should be intuitive for you and your employees. So let's say, for example, you're not around and someone's in and you're off that day. KPIs flag below normal, it'll auto pull that and suggest through AI, Susie, you're down 4 to your exam count for the day. Here are some suggestions that you can do, and it's very thorough and comprehensive. So it's kind of doing the managing for you without you being there. At least it's giving them the ideas and solutions. And then it has an entire training module in there as well. So somebody can't say, oh, nobody taught me that anymore. We have, and it's all the little things. It's not like CE, it's the little things like how to answer a phone. What's the best way to do that? How to handle a customer complaint. What are, the 4 steps to handle a customer complaint, which is to listen, to provide empathy. Like, it's basic skills like this that I find are really overlooked and are really, really important to move practices forward. And then there's also multiple choice questions and things like that. So you can hold people accountable and make sure that they do the training and pass the quizzes. So this is the staff and motivation and training section. And if you may, you can scan this code. You can get a free growth tool. The top 5 practice leaks costing clinics thousands. And if you do sign up, we're allowing 10 people, the first 10 people, to try the software for free. So please do that. We'd love to get your input. So please, there's a QR code there. And we just want to make sure we're helping everybody to be as successful as they can. So you see here, like, we have all these AI training modules, how to run local marketing campaigns, expectation setting with your employees, and all the kind of stuff that you need, which is role-based. So if you have front desk, opticians, managers, owners, all the different modules in there, that would be specific to their role-based. And the next webinar, please join us. So we're going to talk more about sales next month. We'll revisit a little bit today if we have more questions from today and last month's webinar, but we want to get more into the sales quadrant now of your business wheel. So how to help you grow without being salesy. And so figuring out optical solutions that convert and delight. So don't miss it next month, November 25th at 7 p.m. And that's it. So any questions? So we really want you to be able to work more, earn more, and lead better. And believe me, it gets easier. It gets easier over time, and it really does. But you just got to get out of that cycle that you're in, and you have to really be strategic and think about these things that we talked about. You don't have to have a complete overhaul. I think, pick 1 or 2 things. We have 2 months left, the end of 2025. It's the best time to implement something small that's really going to generate more revenue. Bundle something together, start offering it, start tracking those bundles, and start celebrating, creating a culture around that. Because once you see that first person gets it off the ground, celebrate them. Get them to share with your other team members how they did that. Because it's one thing you talking about it all the time, but it's another thing when they see their peers succeed. So there'll always be in teams like early adopters or people that just run with it and will really do well with anything that you present. And then there's a majority of people that take more time, and there's a few people that just take longer to implement these things. But think about a new bundled service that you want to get off the ground. Let's generate some more revenue. November and December are the busiest months in optical. So this is the time to make it count. And we really want to make sure you guys start 2026 in a more profitable situation so that you'll have an even better year next year. Okay, so yeah, another question. So your software and all-in-one exams calendar, selling KPI. That's a good question, all-in-one for exams. So this is just we call it like an iCare intelligence tool. So it connects to your EMRs and it connects to data from any of your EMRs that you have. So it pulls things like exam counts. So I have, I use Revolution EHR. So we have an automation from Revolution EHR that pulls all the data because there's no dashboard. So I can't even make business decisions at a pulse if I want to. Like, it drives me nuts that I don't know if I'm profitable, not profitable, if anybody's hitting their goal or not. Like, I needed to have visibility to this. if I want it to be successful. So calendar, selling, and KPI. So it'll have anything that we talk about here in these webinars, things like how to sell, business strategy will be probably in the manager and owners section, maybe not the front desk section, but all these little training insights will be there, and they will be like 3 minutes long. So very, very concise and easy to digest material. Hope that answers your question. So if you have an EMR that you want us to work with, just let me know. We can get an automation built. So it's not pulling any patient. No, so it's HIPAA, PIPEDA compliant because it's not pulling any patient information or demographics. It's just numbers and services mapping. Yeah. So it's really like a practice operations software. So it's kind of like a 3-in-1. So it's like we were looking at dashboards, training, like Trainual, like a dashboard Trainual, and an employee reward and recognition program. So we have these, but there were 3 separate things. So it's kind of all in one as opposed to different things. Not yet, but we can work with, so the question is Pulse IQ compatible with all EMR systems? Not yet, but we can work with your EMR. So I have like a tech team that can get in there and pull your information, or you can download a sheet daily and weekly and just put it into the system and it'll kind of spit it out for you. And the AI assist is really cool. So we've been using AI, like I personally, and we can do a whole maybe webinar on AI as well. I just recently learned how to create a custom GPT, and you know, we've just been using Chat GPT for a very long time, and it's really helped us move faster in our business. So it's one thing that like the owner knows how to use it. It's another thing when you get your team involved in using it too. Just don't put patient information in. So whenever you are putting stuff in, I would recommend, you know, you take it off, or you be like, act like you're a practice this or that. Just, you can always fake it and say you are somebody else before you're putting information in to any AI. Even if it's enterprise, they say it's closed, but you know, it's just somebody's still in charge of that AI. You never know when the rules are changed. So whenever you're putting information there, try to be anonymous, or just say, give a fake name. That's all you have to do. That way you'll be totally fine. All right. Any more questions? Sorry, so today's one was a bit more of a technical, granular lecture. Last month was more theory and, you know, a lot more motivating. But I wanted to be able to give you guys numbers and metrics. So on your worksheets for this week, if you want to print it out, we have a lot of really good steps. You just go through it. You just, you know, you can go through the first worksheet. If you don't have it, you can email the team at Optical Prism. They'll resend it out to you. And you should get the worksheet for this week too. And it's just step by step. You just have to print it, go through it with your team, come up with something simple. And really, this is all it takes. So it's truly how I've gotten my practice to scale. This is why we're focusing on the cash flow quadrants first, because everybody likes to talk about making more money. And then once you start making more money, you get more problems. You got operational problems. You got leadership problems. You got hiring problems. So then we talk about those quadrants throughout the year. So it's like a full year journey, but it'll be an awesome one. Yeah, you'll get the worksheet, Maxence. Yeah, you should get it in the email. Yeah, we have one, or it might be here. If you can click files, I don't know if you get access to the files. It's in this webinar. There you go. So Nick posted the email, so you can contact Samantha Budd, so sbud@opticalprism.ca for any assistance. We'll be happy to resend you any webinar and any worksheet. Yeah. And let's get you guys to the 7-figure optical business, because it's really not that difficult, I can assure you. Okay, any more questions? All right. Well, this was really rewarding. Thank you guys so much for attending. And I love when you're all in and participating. It really makes me feel so happy to be able to do this. So I really enjoyed myself. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care, guys. Have a good night.